Wow,
Right, good to go.
nice. Hello, everyone. So it's great for me to join Angular Kenya today, and today I'll talk about how to build a small Tetris game with Angular. And the Akita part here is like a state management, a small state management library. So for anyone who don't really like enjoy working with NGIs, you can consider to use Akita because it is a bit simple comparing to NGIs because NGIs is maybe like is more complicated with a lot of stuff. So Akita I think is suitable for everyone. And before we get started, so just a bit about myself. I'm Trung. I'm from Vietnam and I'm a software engineer based in Singapore at the company called Codify. And we has a platform to let the user earn the like cash flow from cryptocurrency. So if you are interested in like doing something like that, you can check out the Twitter and the company here. Also, I'm a organizer of Angular Vietnam, and this is a quite a big group. We has 14,000 members at the moment, and people just keep like joining every day. So I don't know how much it's now. Maybe it's like 50K already, but yeah, now it's the time by the time I update the slides about like 14K member. And most of the time I was working with Angular, but then recently I moved to work with React a bit. And this is the Angular Vietnam Twitter. You can take a look. Like we try to put more content into it. And the most notable thing is the 100 day of Angular story that we written in Vietnam. So trying to spread out about Angular stuff in yeah to widen people, widen engineer network in Vietnam. So the agenda today, I'll go through what is Tetris, and like when said, you guys has already familiar with the brick game, and in Asia it's also a thing, like maybe 20 years ago. And now, what is Angular Tetris and why I decided to build it? The tech stack behind the game, and there's some development challenge I wanted to share with you guys, like to how to build a game loop, or how to do the animation and handle keyboard and sound, which is something we don't really like pay attention to when we building a normal web app. But for the game, it is not that crazy stuff, but it is good to have it in the game, like like for the sound thing. So let's get started. So Tetris is a small game was created in 1984 by Alexei Pajitnov, which is a Russian guy. So the rule is simple. You just rotate and move the falling pieces, and you try to fill out the whole horizontal row without any empty cell. So if it is solid, the whole row is going to be clear. That's very simple. And the dash sheet that I build with Angular is going to be something like that. So let's go to browser. I think I show you guys quickly on the browser. So you can go to tetris.chunkai18.com. The domain is silly. I just selected like 10 years ago, so I still keep it. So basically, that is how the game look like. You go into the game. You can first you can select some level, and then you can start like which line you want to start. So by default, it's still the 0 1, but you want to get a bit more challenge. You can select this one, and all of that you can do with the keyboard. And when you're ready, just press the space button to start. So that's normal. Like you just moving the pieces, and as long as fill one row, it's gonna be clear. But yeah, let's clear one row and then we continue. Yeah, something like that. It's gonna clear if you make one row solid. And I hope you're all familiar with that. But if you haven't really played before, this is easy to play. I would say so. So let me get back to the slide. So that is Tetris, and why is Angular Tetris and why I decided to do it. So I has the Tetris game, which is like one of the first game I ever has ever like when I was like 5 or 6 years old, or maybe even before that, my dad gave me a Tetris, and at the time it was costing like a US dollar, which is like equal to a 2,000 egg. We can feed the family for like more than a week. So I would say my dad like really wanted me to have some time enjoying. So I really appreciate that. And still, I don't have it now. I mean, after moving house or many time, and because when I was a kid, I didn't really uh, take care of the item, like of the game. So now I don't have it anymore, but I still remember it. And actually, the Angular Tetris was based on the version which is written on Vue.js, which I was reusing some part of the code, and it saved me some time. But still, I did any other stuff which is in Angular. And when my wife saw this Vue Tetris version, which is very identical to what I showed you before, so she really like wanted to have like the same version that she can play when she's like using a mobile phone or something. So yeah, I just want to make my wife happy, and that's life, man. We should make the wife happy. Then and that's it. So I think that was the time when I received the T-shirt. Maybe I was when I was a bit older, but it's about 1996 or maybe a bit later, 97 or 98. But yeah, this is the background. I was born in a mountainous area in Vietnam, so the background was like really just mountain, and the house was not like really developed at that time yet. So look at the viewer dashes, and because there's a source code already, so I just look at the viewer dashes source code, and I wanted to really like see how the guy do it, and somehow I can reuse some of the stuff, because to build Tetris, I would say it's not a very complicated like like challenge, but it should take me at least a week or two to really like hammer the cores of the Tetris game. And after that, I built a minimal to-do list. So because I was working on my own, so this list here is just for me to keep track of what like where I am, and when I am, like what is left, and when I might be able to release the game. Yeah, it's very simple, just some simple checkbox. And I think we should do like in any project, but for a single individual project, is totally it is good enough. You don't need a Kanban board or a more complicated stuff. So I started to work with the HTML skeleton, which is what you're seeing here. It's just like the game or the button or like all of this decoration thing. The the core of the game, everything is like happen only in this small rectangle block, whereas the dinosaur is running. And yeah, I will go into it very detailed later on. But the HTML skeleton was quite easy to build, I would say so. It's just CSS, and even I use some of the float thing, which is not a lot of people still using now. But yeah, why not? And I was trying to build the Tetris core. When I talk about Tetris core, what is it? So Tetris core is more like the brain of the brain of the game, where the pieces is moving down, and when you click a button, all of that is happening. Like you can rotate the pieces, you can do left, right, down, and somehow you can also like check the clear state and all of the game over, and everything. So that is considered the core of the game. And I think it's the most important part of the game, because all of these styling is easy, but if you make sure that the brain is working fine, and everything is gonna be okay, even if the styling was not that great, but I think that was good enough. And I was like replacing the set timeout with and set interval, which is using like extensively in the Vue Tetris with ArcGIS, and you can see it in a minute. And then I'll just add in the keyboard and the sound event in Angular. So the challenge when I look up on the Vue.js code is like, because it was written in JavaScript, so there's some part of the game could like giving some error, and because JavaScript is a dynamic language, so you don't get it when you write code. You only get it when you like run it on the browser in the runtime, which is fine, I think. But I think the error is gonna be like something we should catch earlier. It's not like when you run it and you face it, and if it's leaked out to production, it's not really good. And Angular with TypeScript can prevent many of that like beforehand. Yeah, I would say so. And the game loop, which is written in Vue.js, was quite difficult to understand. And I will have the comparison later on, then you I can see it. And yeah, I think that too much text, so just go right into the core of the game. Like I mentioned, the core of the game is one of the most important thing. And on the left side, which is the code that I wrote in TypeScript, and on the right side is something that is written in JS, in the Vue.js source code. And I think easier to see it on the browser, on the IDE itself. Let me add the Vue Tetris. I prepared it, but just now I reset the, it's not training, it's, where's it, OS? Here. Just close it quickly. So I have the Tetris service, which is everything is happening inside this Tetris service thing. And inside here I have the auto, which is simple. And the update here is like what is happening when one, like, how to say it, like when one event like is painting on the screen, like every time the the pieces is moving down, it will call this function. I mean, this function will call this UI to be rendered. Every time like you click left right, it's gonna trigger another function. But the auto is like just keep bring the Tetris pieces from the top to the bottom. Even you don't touch the keyboard at all. It's still, the loop is still like keep going. And yeah, that is the loop. That is what you are seeing. Okay. Yeah. So that there's an update function, and I has several stuff here going on. But basically, when it is touching the bottom, we wanted to mark the pieces as solid, which means that I will tell the service that the pieces is there. It will be only two things can happen. It could be clear by running this method, or I'll just keep, it's just keep like generate the next pieces and then just keep drawing the pieces into the screen. And let comparing with the Vue.js, which is this one. So let me do it side by side. Uh, so in the Vue.js, I think there's function also called auto. Yeah, I would just trying to make it identical. So the auto function here is like you see there's a function that define it inside another function, which is fine, which is we do it like we are JavaScript engineer, and that's totally fine. But there's a lot of logic that I don't really understand. For example, one of these x, y, like 0 and plus, and which is greater than 0. When I read the code and I try to make sense of the data, I just don't really get it. That took me a lot of time. And I think after like spending a few hours looking into the code, like trying to understand it, and I still don't get it. That's why this TypeScript code like make the thing easier for me, look appealing, and imagine even at the moment I will understand the code on the right side. All of that, I think I'm gonna forget it in like after a few months. So by looking into this like easier to understand function name, and like there's separated like responsibility for each small function. I think after a few months when I get back to the code, I still like get it and still can add more feature into it. So that is the game loop. And like I said, this update function is running even when you don't touch interact with the game at all. So it is running in some set of like a set interval. But I was using IHS. I hope you guys are familiar with IHS, but if not, that's it's okay. Should not be any problem. But how do I do it? Go to reference. So there's two places. So I have this auto function, and I just receive a delay which is passed in a millisecond. The millisecond will be defined, like will be selected based on the level that you selected. Let's say you select to let me reset again. So by default it's always level 1, and you can select the maximum of 6 level. Like you see this level is moving. So the higher the level is, the shorter the delay interval is. So by default, I think it was like about 800 millisecond, and if you increase to 6, it's gonna be like 150 millisecond. And you see the piece is now moving really fast. It is like just really fast going out. And I wanted to add a new level. It's easy, but I think to add a new level is just too challenging. So I just keep it at 6. Just pause it a bit. And yeah, so basically the auto function is calling when I wanted to start again by press this button, press the space button here. It will call this auto function, and I just run the timer immediately. Like you click button, you run it immediately with the delay. Like after a set of delay timer, you will just keep running this update function, which is a bit different from set time, like set interval. Because set interval, there's a delay for the first time. So if you want to trigger the set interval like immediately, you need to call this update function first, and then you call the set interval itself. Yeah, I think that's is all about the game loop. And if you go into the speed, I think there's a speed. Yeah, that is the speed that I mapped. So it's only there's a 6 speed, and if you look closer, okay, why it's not working? Sorry, it's the shortcut, the F in my keyboard now is not working. So if you look into the speed here, still the speed. Yeah. I think there's a function to get the speed, but I forgot what it's called. Is it get speed? Yeah, get speed delay. So in the get speed delay, I pass in the speed which is 1 to 6, and then there's a speed delay. I think it's kind of enum. Go to reference. Yeah, so that is the delay. So 700, then 600, and then now the fastest is like 160, not 150. Yeah, it's been a long time. I didn't read the code, but yeah, you get the idea. So you pass in the 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 interval time, and then you call the auto function. And in the auto function, it will just keep calling a function to generate the pieces until the game is over, or until you interact with the keyboard, or until you clear the line on all of this stuff when you interact with the thing. So yeah, I think it's all of that. So basically the Tetris service game here, I didn't really wrote everything by myself. I'll just look it into like one of the repositories. So the guy Chrome here, he implemented a Tetris game, which is like the core of the game, and the UI is very simple, and we can use it freely on the project. So I take the code and I put it in, and also I added a bit more functionality, because he just added the basic one, like you move left, move right, and you make the piece falling down. But yeah, I added a bit, and that is the auto function that I told you before. So noted one point is like I need to store the subscription so that I can like unsubscribe in the future. Like when I want to press the pause button, this one. So if I'm playing the game, it's still moving, but when I click the pause, I need to unsubscribe so that the state is like pause. It stop moving, and when I click again, I will call the auto function again so that it will resume. Yeah, I think that is all about the game loop. So maybe you guys have any question, we can yeah have a chat now already instead of we save it at the end. So do you guys have any questions for the game loop? Any like concern, any comment, anything? Otherwise, I will continue with the next part.
Yeah, if you have any question, please just unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, so the game loop is this. I would say just try to emphasize one thing is like there's always some kind of interval is keep running in the background, and you just keep update the UI. So the UI actually is one of the simple part, and I will go into it. Okay, so I just keep going and tell guys how it's gonna look. So now we talk about the terminal, which is the pieces is gonna render on the UI. So all of that is based in the definition of a geometric shape that compose four square. And yeah, it must be four square. I mean, you can edit like the one with only three square, that is fine. I can edit in like quickly, but in the original version, is all of the pieces is like three square, four square, sorry. And the L and the J here is like the reflection of the each other, and the S and the Z here as well. So if you flip it like into the mirror, you got another version. And I'll store it inside for each of the pieces. I think you just go to the code. So for each of the pieces here, there will be a represent like a class to store all of the information which is relating to it. And let me show you the code quickly because it's always easy to see it on code. So we finished with the loop now, and now I think it is inside the pieces. So I define the base class which is called piece, and the x and the y here is the current position of the pieces on the screen. The rotation is like because the pieces can move in four directions like 0, 90, 180, and 270. So I have this piece rotation to just to easy to understand, like it's just an enum, and I also has the enum to define the piece type, which is the string enum to just keep the type inside the class, which might not be necessary if I has the instance of the class, but I still want to keep it because maybe I wanted to store it as just the pure object later on. So that's why I need to have this type. Maybe that we can do some crazy stuff with squeeze and case, for example. And that's the shape thing, and the shape here is important. If you look at the shape, it is just an array, like two-dimensional array. And let's look at the shape here, the shape of like, okay, so there's the two-dimensional arrays, and the shape is like consist of four shape, which means that the list of shape here is gonna be in four direction, and the shape here is like the current shape of the pieces. Maybe it sounds very abstraction, but let me show you the concrete example. Let's say in the T pieces, I has the shape T, which is like defining for all of the four directions. So on the degree 0, it's gonna look like that. So the one, which means that the position 1 is gonna be like drawing on the screen. The 0 is like I just don't draw anything on the screen. So when you move to the degree 90, I'll just define how it look with when you flip like clockwise. You look at into it closer, So you look at the shape and then you do it clockwise like that, and you got the 90 degree. and the same for the 180 degree. And yeah, usually the maximum the shape have is going to be 4 shape corresponding to the degree that is going to be rotated later on. And at the beginning, when I do the new on the constructor, I call this shape, which is the first one, as usual. And I just set the list of the shape to this private property shape, and then I set the current shape to the rotation. And the current rotation is always default to 0. So that's how I define the shape. And if you look at this like verbose type, where's all of this two-dimensional thing, it is easy to like visualize when you write the code, so that if you wanted to add a new shape, you can do it easier. Like you can just define the shape into this square. You might have the question why is like 4 times 4 array, because we have the longest shape, which is this is it like this I yeah, this is a line, so it's the longest. It could be like 4 block. That's why I need to have the 4 times 4 square, 4 times 4 array. That is the reason behind. And we go through it. And the next here is also a two-dimensional array, but the next here is like to display it on the right side, which is that one, right? Like if I define it into 2 times 4 array, and how it's gonna look is gonna look on that on the right side, the next here, which is a bit different from the shape, because the next here we wanted to keep it smaller. That's why I has the separated property to display the shape when wanted to show it on the next in the navigation on the right side. And like I mentioned, because the way we structure the data is a bit verbal, which means that you have to write a bit more code. But then if you wanted to do a custom shape, it is gonna be easy. So I have the example where I can add a new shape quickly, like I call it shape F, and like what you are like looking at is like on the one here is going to be displaying. That's it look like an F, but in a like reverse direction, and that is how it's gonna render on the UI. So you just need to define a class, and you add it into the factory where I generated the pieces, and that's it. It's gonna be displayed here. So you can do the same for like 3 pieces or 2 pieces, but I mean, yeah, the possibility is endless. If we storing the data structure that way, I mean, there could be like a different way to store it, but for me, I found this approach to store it in the verbose way of array is easier to understand and to extend in the future. And I think I just go to the next one, and then we will talk about like the like ask you if you had any question. So if you look into the board thing, it is just like a big array with 200 items, because the the column here is that's a 10 column, and there's 20 row. So yeah, you have like 200 items inside an array. So here I was like doing a simplified version. So say this is the index is always starting from 0, and when you see the 1 here, it is going to be displayed on the screen, which is the is it going to be the 4th index, which is the fifth element inside an array. And you look to the next line, when the 1 and 1 is denoted, so which is the 14th index and the 15th, and the last one is like the 25. That's one, yeah. And that is how it's like representing on the data structure. And if you look at the state, that's exactly what I showed you before. So at the 4th, which is this one, the value is 1. At the 14, the 15, the value is also 1. enter the 25, the value is also 1. You see, it is like, you can see it easier. So everything is representing inside the state, and what you do is like, you read from the state and then just render it on the UI. Let's put it that way, and I think that's important. We don't store like fragment data like here and there. There's only one centralized places to store all of the data, and the job is like to just read the data from the store, and then you render it on the UI. So actually, I can show you quickly how it's look locally. Like, you open F12. I mean, I still enable it on. Eh? Just refresh it a bit. Okay. So you open Redux Dev tool, yeah. So you see there's a two state when I initialize. So which is one is Angular Tetris, and the second one is Angular Tetris keyboard. Why the name is like that? Because it is like Akita structure. So it's not NGI. That's why the name is a bit different. So the metric that I will mention here. So it's basically there's 200 items inside the. Let me zoom in a bit. Yeah, there's 200 items inside the metric itself. And then when you start, it's gonna fire a lot of event. There's a lot, I would say. And it's just keep updating the store like this log thing, and there's many other things. Like if I pause it, the game state now it changed to 1, you see? Yeah, so you can easier to see all of that, but keep that in mind, because when you open the Redux Dev tool, it's gonna be reducing the performance of the game a bit, because there's like crazy stuff is going on. I fire a lot of event, and that's normal. That is not something crazy, but it will reduce the performance of the game. So I would say to really have the smooth game, you just play it like with the browser itself by its own. And yeah, do you have any question on that session before we keep moving? So that part is about rendering the pieces and the game board into the UI and how the data structures look like. Silent mean no, I guess.
Mine,
Oh,
mine is just more of a comment. It's very interesting how this thing is rendered, like just by use of numbers and all. Like, hey, it's very interesting. Like for someone who just like plays games, so just like maybe just like basic, I don't know, UI. But then looking at this now in the background, it seems like it's very very complex.
yeah. I mean, even for this small game, I would say the core of the game is, there's a lot of things going on to keep just the loop moving.
Mm,
And when you start to interact with the keyboard and stuff, is even more stuff is moving. So we need to appreciate the guy who beating
okay.
game, man.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely. Anyway, anyone else have a question? Okay, I think you can just
Okay,
move on, Trung.
sure, thanks. So let's go to the animation part, which I was using AX a lot. Like on the right side, still it's still the what viewer.js, and the guy they, I mean, in pure JavaScript you only have set timeout and set interval. That's why you see this pattern a lot, which is the callback and then stop. I would not say it's bad, but I just don't really like enjoy writing code like that. So that's why I switched to migrate the animation to IJS. And yeah, I think let's go through quickly. So the guy here, they using the set function, it's just the synonym to the set timeout, and he do it just for the sake of shorter name, and he put the number here. So let me go into one of the animation quickly. But before we go ahead, I was doing the animation by using the CSS transform. Like, if you do scale with -1, it's gonna flip the thing like as like you look into the mirror. So it's gonna flip the thing over. I utilize it to really implement the two-side animation by only one image, which means that I don't need to load two images for the same purpose. Sorry. So what I mean is like I has only one access that stores this image, and when I do transform like -1, it's gonna flip the whole image to different side. So this dragon is gonna become this dragon, which is like one is like looking into the right side and the other one is like looking into the left side. That's why there's a R, which is like shorthand for right, and L is like shorthand for the left. And there's four states of the dragon. And if you look into the code, actually there's only one image to display all of that, like the sprite image. This is background.png. So maybe it's a bit difficult to see, but it's a transparent one. But see, there's only four dinosaurs. But if you see on the animation, you see the dinosaur there's like two sides moving. Okay, no, not the one. Let me reset it. You can see it quickly. See. So yeah, that is two sides. Now it's on the right and the left. And yeah, I'll show you all of the eye animation like in just a second. So let's go back to the code. So the animation for the eye, we talk about the eye first. You see. So I also has the timer which is like running immediately when I call this timer. And I don't subscribe to it, which means it's just an observable. And then when I need to use it, I'll just call the async pipe, and it will start with 0, and I map it to like 0, like +1. So when it's gel 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, when it goes through the map function, I will has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will skip the 0, and I will has one more value, which is not very important. This map here is not very important. I can just this like decrease one value of this take y, then I can have the same result. But I do the map, and what is that is simple. When the value is even, I will take the first image. If it's not, I take the second. And if you look into the image, right, the first and the second, which is this one, the left, where's the left? I think that's the left. So the first and the second is going to be corresponding to this, the most right, and the next one. So it's just the one with the eye open and eye closed. That's why when you call it like every 500 milliseconds, you will get this eye opening thing, and it just toggle the class like fast. That's why you see the animation on the screen. So yeah, I think the eye is easy. The next one is the run, which is like to move the leg of the dragon. And if you look at the two which has different leg, it is gonna be this one, the 3 and the 4. You see, one is like the left leg is on the ground, one is like the left leg is on the top. So you make it like toggle between the two is really fast, you can achieve the animation. So the thing here is also simple, but then I wanted to make the legs moving faster. That's why I set the timeout here is 200 milliseconds only, and I take why it is smaller than 40. You will understand now. So if the leg is like running for 10 times, or maybe less than 10 times, because like when it start with 1, so maybe it's 8 or 9 times. So when it's even, which means it's run enough on one side, I want to flip the side. So the side here is like, if it's now it's right, and I just set it to the left, and if not, I just set it to the right. So I can flip the side of the dinosaur. And the same here, if the state is even, I will toggle between the two images, between the 3 and the 4. And then the class name is just basically the combine of the side and the state. That's why, after moving like 10 times, it will flip and just keep moving. And then after that, it's just keep flip and then keep moving. And at the end, I'll just set it to the side of the one, which is like where's the leg is not moving and the eyes closed. And when I wanted to combine the two together, I use the concave operator. So basically, the concave operator is just basically it takes the two observable, like it's concave the two, they merge the two observable together. But then the run here is gonna run finish, and then the second one is gonna be start to emit the value. So which means that while the run is running, it does it, and then the eye is running after, and I set the delay of 5 seconds. And because I don't know how to say, just repeat until I press the button. That's why I'll just set it to repeat 1,000 times. You can do it better, but for me, I'll just do the easiest way to repeat it 1,000 times, which is a bit silly, but I think it's gonna work for now. And here I start to subscribe, and it just keep running. And when you do the subscribe here, you need to do the pi until destroy, which means that when you press a button and then the animation is replaced with another UI, you wanted to unsubscribe from the observable as well. Otherwise, you just keep accumulating it, and then after a long time, the browser is going to be explode. It's going to be very slow. So that is the left side is the one that I built with IJS, and the right side is the version with test timeout, which look a bit not very identical, but for me that's good enough. I mean, it's just an animation to look nice on the game, but it's not the most critical part of the game. But it's interesting to see how it's we're building using IJS as well. Yeah, I think we have another two more sections, which is the sound and the keyboard, and that's it. So do you have any question for this animation and maybe it's for IHS? Just let me know now before we jump into the next one, which is the keyboard, I think. So there's 1 minute break.
Anyone who has a question? I think you can just move on, Trung.
Sure.
Yeah.
So now is the keyboard. I mean, the two left one is very fast, very short. So for the keyboard handling, I'm just utilizing this hot listener in Angular. So I think Angular can improve the doc a bit because there's were not very like detail on the documentation. I will mention it to one guy, but yeah, anyway. So I just so basically the hot listener here, you can combining the key down and key up event with the keyboard itself, like the actual key on the keyboard. Like you do key down and Tetris keyboard left, which means that when you press the left arrow on the keyboard, it's gonna trigger this function, key down left. There's another version which is the key up, which means that when you release the button on the keyboard, it's gonna call this function, another function. So I have only one simple service to handling all of that key up and key down thing. So I think on the code is very simple. It is going to be something like inside the big component, the container. So in the containers, there's all of this hot listener thing. So let me small it a bit. So you see there's a key down here, which go up. Here it's just like document colon key up and document colon key down. All of that I will need to search Google because in the Angular doc was not very detailed, but yeah, I think they can do a bit better on the doc side. Basically, I have this like a pair of handling a key. Like let's say I have the left here, I will have the key down left and also the key up left. And when I press the down, I'll just trigger like move left function on the service. And when I move the key up, I'll just release the state, because when I press the key, you will notice, let me turn, okay, the sound turn off now. So if I move, like I just keep pressing the key, you see, the button, there is the state when it's like it was pressing, like it's really like look like it's pressing on the keyboard. So I also need to store this variable on the state, and when you release it, I will release it on the state, which is what you are seeing here on the Angular Tetris keyboard state. This one, yeah, that is the Angular Tetris keyboard. So no, everything is just full, and as long as you start to press, it's gonna change to true. You see the left here is true, and when you release it, it's gonna be full again. Yep. So it's just I need an additional um, steps to store the keyboard, and yeah, for even this simple animation of you know keyboard pressing need a separate state, because if I just triggering it on a UI and it's gonna be too fast, I will not have the animation when I keep like holding the keyboard. That's why I still need that. And yeah, basically you just need to use hot listener and you will be safe with the keyboard handling. But if you need to do all of the combination thing where you need to open many stuff, I think there's a library for that, and you can consider using a library whereby there's a lot of keyboard, and when you also wanted to have a like small model to say when you press this, something is gonna happen. Yeah, you should use the library for that. But for this simple thing, you can use the built-in of Angular. And for the web audio is also very simple. I just has only one small I think one small asset file, which is the tetrissound.mp3, and inside the code there's only one single service to do it. So basically you just need to load the file, and then you store the context and the buffer somewhere. Yeah, here. So when I can decode the audio data, when I load the file, because I just use this open get, and then the response type is like an array buffer, which is not JSON as like you do normal HTTP API. And then when it can resolve, you just store the buffer and the context somewhere, so that you can use it for the other function. Like you can reuse it in this play music, where you just need to specify when to play it, where is the offset, and what is the duration that you wanted to play, and I think that's it. And I wanted to check if the sound is enabled, then I will play the music. If not, then I will not do, because on the UI you can see that you can select the sound button here, so you can turn off the sound or you can turn on the sound you want. Yeah, so basically that. And what else? What else? What else? What else? Oh, so because the sound was implemented differently on different browsers, like on Chrome, Safari, and Opera, the name of the API were WebKit audio context, and on Firefox there's only audio context. So I using one of the patch, like audio context monkey patch for that. I'm not sure now if it's like they fix it, but I still use this in the source code. You see, there's a mention about this audio context patch, where different browser, like the patch here is just like um, standardize the API of the web API for audio context, so that we can use seamlessly in all of the browser. And yeah, I think that's it. That's all about sound. And I was spending like about like 30 hours, which is about what? About 1 week of work. Like if you use 6 hours a day, but I was like doing it like part time, like at the side project. So I think maximum I can spend like three hours a day. and weekend maybe a bit more. So it took me about like 2 weeks to build this project. I think that was a good time. I mean, even I can reuse some of the HTML, CSS, and also the core of the game. It still took me 2 weeks. So I think it's building a game is very interesting, but it's also challenging at the same time. And the community was really like I would say like support it. They like it and people share it a lot. There's Minko who's working at the Angular team will also share it, and it's got a lot of attention, like like 30,000 view at the end, which is like mind blowing. And it got into some like top newsletter from some individual guy, which is I didn't expect it to happen, but yeah, enjoy it. And I was getting the top trending for one day, and it's the second time. Very happy to see it, but this is not the purpose when I build a game. When I build the game, it's more like I wanted to make my wife happy, and I had a side project, and which is something that I enjoy working on, and that's enough for me. And yeah, with that, I would like to end the talk. Is thank you so much for listening, for joining, and so sorry about the sharing screen problem at the beginning, but yeah, thanks for having me today. And now is the time. If you have any question or you don't have the question now, you can always reach me on Twitter or send me an email. I'm happy to answer any of your question. And Happy New Year, guys. Even it has been past for a month now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Trung. It's really interesting how you are really committed to this particular game, like building it. If I may ask, have you built any other game apart from the Tetris game?
Oh, yeah, actually,
Yeah.
after Tetris, I think it's still
Uh-huh.
on my GitHub. So Tetris is like considered one of my first game ever, but with Angular. But oh sorry, there's some
Ah.
confidential stuff here. No,
Oh.
just kidding. So that's the so I built another game with Phaser, which is like a proper game engine for like building game, like all of the sprite thing. So let me show you quickly. So this is like a small game, but with Phaser because yeah, see, it is simple. Yeah, it is like a Space Invader, but with all of this explosive thing and all of the moving, all of that is easier with Phaser, and it took me like just a weekend to build that. Yeah, that's it. This is the second game that I built.
Amazing, amazing. All right, thank you. Um, anyone wants has a question?
Anyone has any question?
Question?
Do we have
Question? I
like?
mean, if,
Oh, sorry.
yeah,
No, I just want to ask like,
yeah.
usually do we like take like a screenshot of everyone who's like waving the hand or something?
Well, we can definitely do that, I think.
I know, I mean,
Or
it's not necessary you have to do it, but I think it's gonna be something to remember.
yeah, I'm not really sure about the rest. Probably might try it another time.
Sure, sure, no worries.
Yeah, yeah, but definitely have at least we have a screenshot of like everyone who has actually attended this session. Yeah, anyone who has something to say when it's not a question.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, you can ask me on any Angular stuff. If I know, I can.
I feel like yeah. Anyone?
Just minutes.
Because
Hello, can
yeah,
everyone
hi,
hear me?
hey, someone.
Yep, I can
Yeah.
hear.
Can I? Yeah, hi. I'm Sam. I thank you, Trung, for the walkthrough to the Angular Tetris game. I actually had taken a look at your repo, And actually, I reposed and I saw you've done quite some work on the Phaser 3 Invaders game, the Angular Tetris. And I'm just, well, thank you for the session. I've actually learned a lot, especially with RxJS. I didn't even know that Angular could build, okay, I didn't even think of how Angular could come up with Tetris, or like how Tetris could come together with Angular, if you get what I mean. And to Angular Kenya, Wayne Gakpo, thank you for the sessions. I've actually attended a couple of them, learned a lot on Angular. Yeah, and that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks. And you look
Thank you.
into circles. Yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam. Anyone else? It doesn't have to be a question. Can
Yeah.
be even like a compliment, a comment. Yeah. All right. Anyway, I don't want to keep people too much over here because it's almost time. But I'd like to say a big thank you to Trung, who has taken his time to take us through this session. If I'm not wrong, it's very late on Trung's side. It's in Singapore, right, Trung? What
Yeah.
time is it on your side?
Yeah, this almost 3 a.m. But that's fine. It's okay. It's one is a while, so
Oh, yeah, but we are really, really grateful for you taking the time actually to take us through all this. And would like to say a big thank you once again. And for those who probably not have had access to, probably not have had the time to probably like ask questions or just try to go through a lot more, please be sure to reach out to Trung on Twitter. And he's a really interesting guy, like talking to. And if you're interested, even joining him in some of the sessions, just always drop a DM on his account. And yeah, definitely connect with him. And also on GitHub, check out his repos on Tetris. Personally, now because I don't have a brick game, I'm definitely gonna be using his game to be playing Tetris every single time. But yeah, I'd like to say thank you, Trung. Thank you very much.
yes, no worries. Thanks for having me today, Voice and Sam. And yeah, I hope everyone is
Yeah.
enjoying.
Yeah. And also to show a token of appreciation for those who have joined us for this call, please, we're going to be giving out free tickets to CTJS Conf. Okay, we are actually given 10 tickets, so I actually have a few remaining. So for those who have joined us, Frank, Samuel, Elliot, and I think someone else who joined us too, please send your emails or just message me on WhatsApp with your emails. If you're on the WhatsApp group, you just find my name, Wengakuo. Please inbox me so that I can give you, so you can submit your name and your email address so that I can send it out to the organizers of CTJS Conf. For those who don't know what CTJS Conf is, just hold on. Let me try and share my screen.
Oh, let me stop sharing.
Okay. Just hold on. Yeah, if you can see my screen. Yeah, so this is CTJS Conf. It's gonna be a conference. It's gonna be an online conference for sure, and it's gonna be talking about things to do with Svelte, TypeScript, Node.js, and more. And if you probably not checked it out, just go to ctjsconf.org, then check it out. They reached out to us to be as one of the communities who are going to be supporting them. So we are honored as Angular Kenya, a very young and vibrant community, to have actually joined as part of the communities that are helping out and spreading the message about CTJSCon. You'll see a wide variety of speakers from across the continent. For those who maybe have seen Shodipo, Shodipo was one of our speakers earlier when we started off as Angular Kenya. He talked about open source And yeah, please just check it out. So this is what we're gonna be having on the 24th to 26th of March. So be sure to send me your name and your email address so we can have access to, because you will not be able to get a ticket unless you have submitted your information or submitted your info as part of the free tickets or have purchased it. So yeah, whenever you have time, just check it out. Here we are, Angular Kenya. It's really amazing seeing our logo somewhere. Yeah, but other than that, I'd like to say a big thank you for all of you for joining us. And yes, we're definitely gonna have this. We're gonna have this recording up on YouTube. But yeah, thank you once again, Trung, and wishing all of you a good night
Thanks, and
and
good
good
night.
morning to Trung.
No, I'm gonna go to sleep now.
All right,
Bye, guy, and yeah, good night.
bye.